Dennis Rodman, the Hulkster, the Park Avenue Hospital, and a Chickering.
Here's News 8 Now's Dave McKinley with News 8 Then.
10 years ago this week, when Dennis Rodman was at the height of his notoriety, a hero's welcome was bestowed upon Olympic silver medalist Kim Batten when she returned to Rochester. Peebles Department Store opened in Midtown Plaza. The comeback trail brought the Monkees to Finger Lakes Performing Arts Center, and in a sign of the times, our first story ever on something called a computer virus this week. In 1996. 20 years ago this week, a new music form was starting to pick up steam on the Rochester scene. That would be rap music. The Bills traded Joe Cribbs to the 49ers, and at the War Memorial, while it looked like the Iron Sheik was getting the best of the Hulkster, you had to know a few roundhouse rights, a clothesline, and an atomic leg drop would soon spell curtains for the funny bald man with the upturned toes on his boots. And in Edmond, Oklahoma, a mail sorter named Patrick Sherrill showed up for work and killed 14 fellow employees before turning a gun on himself. The massacre occurred in the town's post office. And now you know how the often tossed around term going postal was born of a tragedy which occurred this week in 1986. 30 years ago this week, when the Puerto Rican Festival was still held at Brown Square Park, and whilst shopping at Two Guys and wondering what fate would befall the still recently shuttered Park Avenue Hospital, real-life Hare Krishnas could still be seen roaming Interstate 490 at a time when life seemed more real to real. This week in 1976. 40 years ago this week, the original Chickering that was on stage at Ford's Theater the night Lincoln was assassinated was on display in Rochester. This week's News 8 Then Pop Quiz. What the heck is a Chickering anyway? In those days, a lot of money was being wagered at Batavia Downs, although it was exclusively on horses and not video lottery terminals. And you could still catch a kiddie ride at Edmund Lyons Park in East Rochester back in the days of News 8 Then.
This is News 8 Now.
Here's the answer to this week's News 8 Then Pop Quiz.
A Chickering, in case you were wondering, is the brand name of a piano. In fact, the ones made between the early 1800s and the Second World War were considered to be second to none in quality and sound. 40 years ago this week, the one that was actually on stage at Ford's Theater when Lincoln was shot was loaned to the Lincoln Commercial Company of Rochester. The president of the firm, an avid Lincoln hobbyist, put it on display for everyone to see.